So election planning, coming near the end of our presentations to staff. I think there's really only one geographic school that hasn't had the presentation yet, so that's good. All of those presentations have gone well. Had some great discussions and great questions at a lot of them. And so what I have here in the packet for you today is priority 2, which is where the renovate and refresh of all educational facilities. These are some of the suggestions. Well, here's the calendar of it that we have in here first. So our intention is to get these firmed up by the end of May. Okay, at May 31st. And so right now, what is happening is discussions on a school by school level, and these are lists that Melissa Andrews from my department and Jack have worked together on to put these lists together. To identify these are the things that they are seeing from their perspective, so to inform the discussions at the building level. But again, we want these decisions made at the building level. But they want them to be informed, of course. So these are the things that by school that our folks are seeing here, and so working with them over the course of this next month is our intention to get that distilled down to so that we make the final decisions. We as the building and group together make the decisions on what they want to propose for the priority 2 projects.
So one question that I had is what is this secure front entry that seems to be on almost every school? What is that?
Yeah, I can comment on that. What we're trying to do is make sure, best practices really indicate that we should have some sort of foyer that allows people to come in out of the inclement weather and for us to actually view who it is and then buzz them in. At a number of our schools, we don't have that situation at this point in time. So I know Melissa and Ron and then David in the security side have spent a great deal of time just really trying to figure out what is the most simplistic way to do this, but to be able to provide that sense of security at each of our schools. Now, if you take one of the most and the one that's probably the I hate to say least safest, but that doesn't have a vestibule at all is Evans Elementary School. Unfortunately, it happens to be one of our schools that was built, in the 70s, so it doesn't have that. But we've now figured out a way in just restructuring some space to be able to accommodate an area where somebody can come in, out. We've got them in a secured area now, and they can't come into the building until we actually acknowledge who they are, what they're there for. We're also even trying to take it to the point where, we can actually take their information. And in most cases, if it's a visitor, they're going to give us our driver's license. We can scan it and read it before we actually let somebody into the door.
Because right now it seems like it's outside and then there's a door and another door. So are you thinking of moving those into the middle area?
I'll give you the best case is Vista Ridge High School. Vista Ridge High School is, you come in the main door and you turn left and you go, but you have to get buzzed in order to get to the thing. The only thing we really want to add to that is making sure that we have a visible camera there and a station that whoever's at that front desk can actually see and talk to them. And then we can find out really what the nature is, what they need to do, have a thing where they can actually scan their driver's license right there, and we can actually process them before they even get in the building. That's really the main intent of what we're trying to do throughout all the buildings.
Right. So essentially what we're trying to do is make the entryways of all of our schools more like Vista and Falcon High, where you have to proceed. First of all, the office has more contact with you than just a buzz to let you in, but you also have to proceed through the office before getting access to the rest of the school, correct?
That's correct, yes.
Okay.
Instead of having access to like at Evans Elementary School, once you enter the building, you have access to the entire building. And we want to limit that until we actually know what their purpose is. And if they're really there for an intended good purpose.
Yeah, I think that's true at pretty much every grade school district, right?
Correct.
And the middle schools, but most of those were built post or pre these security concerns. Falcon and Vista are new enough that those entryways were built with the more secure setup that is recommended now, but all of our older buildings need to be retrofitted essentially.
Correct. Anything that was built less, than 10 years ago didn't have it. So when you take Vista Ridge and Meridian Ranch, with them being earlier in that vintage, we have that protection in place right now. The only thing we don't have in a lot of those cases is the ability to scan right there, either through and what we're looking at right now is either a scan where you take it and scan it like you do your credit card, or we just basically put it on the screen and it reads it. So you got some sort of recognition, and all of a sudden it goes into the Raptor program that we already have. And so we know at that point in time that there is a concern, or we just let them in.
Which work session, you ask questions. That's good. And actually, just keep in mind that there are kind of three funding sources in play with the discussions right now. Okay, we have our normal capital reserve project identification, prioritization, I should say, this time of year. We also, of course, still have our current existing mill levy override, where things like safety and security are a potential item for that. And then, of course, we have the ideas of what we'd like to be able to do with a new mill levy override proposal if we do pursue that, like we're hoping to. So all the discussions are kind of happening all at once, and so it's kind of charting out, okay, what is the real immediate safety needs? That's what we always try and address in the capital reserve projects. What are the things then that fit well into the current 2014 3A mill levy override, and then what is going to be left for great, probably once more than the needs than we'll do in the first two that can do with the new mill levy. And other election stuff, we are starting to partner with some outside supports in terms of getting polling out in the field and getting some of that data. And so we hope to bring results to you for that as we get into June, so that really all this will come together kind of like as we'd hoped, right into that July, August timeline when we have that decision time about whether to formally approve the ballot language and go into the campaign mode.
So next step is prioritizing and putting a dollar amount to this.
Exactly. And identifying which is the opportunity, the funding opportunity for the groups of projects.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting that number one on the additional for Stetson was lightning mitigation. I don't know what it is about that building, but I swear it must be in the middle of every single lightning storm there is.
Probably number two to Woodman Hills, right?
Yeah, we already did, and it's really been kind of interesting,
Yeah.
because I've had an awful lot of questions from principals. Is it worked? I said, yeah, we haven't had a strike since we did it. And they asked me, well, how much was it? I said, well, unfortunately, it was about a $50,000 fix. So that's why in our discussions during the fall with some of the principals, and I did have a conversation with the Stetson principal, and that was really one of his main concerns. And I told him I get it, I understand, because every time you have a storm, something's going to hit and bang, you don't know what's not working at that point in time.
That's one of my favorite vendor names. It's called Mr. Lightning. That helps us with that.
Yeah, I don't know. It seems like about every time we've had a major storm come through on the weekend, when I go in to eat breakfast with my son, they can't scan my ID or anything because everything's down because lightning hit again. So it becomes a security concern because they can't check anybody.
Oh,
It's hitting when I'm not there, dude.
Yeah, we usually blame it on the weatherman.
He states the obvious.
Good weather.
Goodness, he's smart.
Good weather.
Do we have any, obviously we have a limited time to make public presentations. I know we're doing at staff level. Is there going to be a rollout of presentations between now and the end of July that we'll be participating with as the board?
And Mr. Ridgway and I were just talking about over the next month as we send our overview pamphlet to every mailbox in the district. We'll include in that a series of public meetings over the summer. So we'd like to coordinate schedules with a few of you so that you could be there and help present like we have at some other organizations around our community, that the kind of tag teaming way of doing that has been received well. So I would like to do that also.
How are your scorecards received by the schools? I mean, I'm hearing rumors they went out.
Yeah, they're all out to the coordinated schools as of earlier this week. Some eye-opening pieces of information in them, I feel like, for some of the staff. Parents got an email on Tuesday afternoon inviting them to the website once again, to the survey once again, and letting them know that the scorecards are physically in the buildings now and that they can pick those up. And we coordinated with staff that as they have end of year events, like Woodman Hills is having a community event tonight, a suggestion to, make those items noticeable on a table as they're coming in and that sort of thing. And so all of the staff members at the front offices assured me that they would do that.
Yes, literacy testing over the next couple of weeks where all of us are bringing our kids in.
Exactly. And I would again, say to the community and the staff, I mean, it takes all of us to do this. We try to communicate in a very crowded space. And so if staff feels so compelled, or the PTAs or PTOs at the schools, or any parents, pick up extra ones when you are at the kids' school, share them with your neighbors. Our goal is just to help inform people about our plan and our needs. And, the fact that our no tax increase plan would meet a lot of needs across the district and for all of our buildings. And so we appreciate everyone helping out with that.